on the possibility of recalling members of parliament. I recall last year, at a time like this, immediately after the events of June 25 and getting into August and July, there was a lot of discussion about once the IEBC comes into place, we will recall these members of parliament. There have been attempts, at least 4 or 5 in the past 1 month, to do the same. Then the IEBC chairperson came out and said, unfortunately, this may not happen. This has been provided for in Article 104 of the Constitution, that the electorate under Articles 97 and 98 have the right to recall the member of parliament representing their constituency before the end of the term of the relevant House of Parliament. It is Section 2 that's now the problem, the part where it talks about Parliament shall enact legislation to provide for the grounds on which a member may be recalled and the procedure to be followed. The same parliamentarians who should be recalled are the same parliamentarians that the Constitution has given powers to give legislation on how they should be recalled. Do you think that this is one of the failures of this Constitution, that MPs may not just simply create a law that will send them home? And the Constitution provides for that, meaning that this is an exercise in futility, Austin, that it will never happen.
Right now, the Kenyans, like the general public, is angry at the political class, and so when you find such a situation in the Constitution, then we have a big problem, because even the other day when we saw that there are some youths who decided to recall Esther Passaris, the Nairobi MP, a women rep, of course, but she's an MP. Mm-hmm. You see, the Kenyans are tired, and you see, most of us feel like this constitutional requirements, it's harassing us. You see, it's like preventing us from doing some things against the political class, because there's no way an MP will allow him or her like to be recalled, to lose that job. And as we are talking right now, the youths are angry, and we feel like this old generation, it really wants to oppress us, and that's why we feel like we should have even our own political vehicle, because we are making a lot of noise. But how are we going now to change the system? We now have to enter that system. And I think now the only ideal way to bring all this change, we'll have to contest in the 2027 general elections. Because if they don't want us to recall the MPs, what do you mean we can only recall MCS, as what was being stated? And now we feel like these youth leaders who are doing progressive things, the likes of Babu Owino, the likes of Edwin Sifuna, the likes of Caleb Amise, I feel like these leaders should come together, because we have seen even some of them are being harassed in their political parties. And it's because they are not dancing to the tune of maybe their political leaders. But don't you think on this issue of recall, they are jointly to blame, that MPs, in their wisdom, all of them, have failed to enact proper laws that can actually actuate this recall clause? Yeah, but you see, I feel like what happens here, of course, they cannot allow that to happen. But most of the time, you'll find that those people who maybe at times we praise that they are good leaders, they cannot enact such a thing, because, of course, you see, maybe you might have done something and people decide you are also going home. Mm-hmm. So that cannot happen. Right. And so that's why I feel like now the youth should also now be part of that system, so that maybe if these leaders can come to senses, the leaders that like we've seen, they're doing good things, these leaders that are speaking the language of the people, these leaders that are doing development projects in their home areas, we've seen that most of the people who keep on praising their party leaders, let's say an example of Junet Mohamed, look at the situation in Suna East. The classrooms are in pathetic situations. Mm-hmm. The schools are not they are not built. But why will he be re-elected? Okay, I think he might be re-elected if the Gen Z will maybe decide to vote for him. But I feel that that guy should not be re-elected, because most of the time he is being re-elected because his work is to praise BAMBA and to praise ODM.
And listening to you, you seem to suggest that electing younger leaders, probably from the Gen Z generation, that it would in some way resolve this issue of recalling MPs. Once younger Kenyans become members of the National Assembly or the Senate, do you think they will be better placed to actually legislate on this issue better, to ensure that they themselves can be recalled? Do you think that can happen?
Yes, of course that will happen. You see, as you can see, the young people, we are tribeless. And so you see now the issue of recalling most of the time, okay, some people will try to avoid it so that, because they know they will be affected.
Isn't the problem probably, Agogo, an oversight in the part of the framers, on the part of the framers of this constitution? That while oversight, it is even possible to impeach a deputy president and a president. Now we've seen it can happen because it's a different institution impeaching a member of the executive. That we can impeach governors, we can recall MCAs, we can impeach deputy governors, but when it comes to members of the National Assembly, they are required to come up with laws that would allow their own recall. Don't you think that that is a problem?
Yes. Personally, I think that's a problem. That's a legal, I'd say it's a legal gap. And from IBC, I think, IBC as a commission, they work within the perimeters of the Constitution. So not unless some of those, acts have been maybe or those laws have been reviewed, then it will be a challenge. So for the legislatures, I'd say being that they are the lawmakers, so could be when they are working on the 2010 Constitution, they ended up coming with something that favors them. But those are areas that need to be reviewed. But then until then, it will be a bit a to recall them, or maybe to recall say Senate or maybe a women rep. So those are areas that really need to be worked through, and then before just ensuring that.
It also speaks to the lack of understanding or comprehension of our laws and the provisions therein, especially when it comes to younger Kenyans. Last year, young people were lauded for having a better understanding of the budget-making process and issues like finance bill and the rest. But on this issue of recall, we've spent a whole year, people waiting for the IEBC to be formed, believing that they are going to recall their MPs, only to find that there are no proper legislative frameworks that can allow for that. Does it talk? Probably there should have been a push to review the laws even as you waited for the IEBC. Don't you think that that shows and exposes a gap in understanding of our provisions in the law?
Yes, there is a gap because young people, they're quite knowledgeable, but still maybe the perception was if you can impeach an executive, it will be possible to impeach a member of parliament. So I don't know, there is a gap because it is not clear, yes, but this law is supposed to be there because you cannot safeguard yourself. You are a public servant. So if you are incapacitated, you're supposed to get out of the office. So this law is supposed to be passed, and they're supposed to give proper guidelines because we will continue recycling the same problems, because if you don't impeach this person, the person will come back, smile at you, pause, and give out handouts the same way they do, and then go back to the same parliament. The same cycle goes on. So I think they're supposed to come up with a good and a proper way of impeaching themselves, yes. Yeah.
If at all it will ever happen. Matayen, I saw you nodding or disagreeing with the, I don't know if you are nodding in agreement or in disagreement about this debate. Do you feel that, or how does it make you feel, the fact that you cannot recall your member of parliament as it is?
Okay, so until we elect, as youth, elect leaders, values-based leaders, then we'll continue dancing to the same tune. Because if we have leaders of strong character, leaders of integrity, then we will not have a challenge. They'll just be like, if you no longer fit the bill, you're ousted. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we need to work towards having leaders with integrity. And even as youths, we were having this conversation this morning, and we were saying as youths, if you don't have the character to be a leader, the system will automatically change you. So you need to have a strong character. You need to work on yourself.
So you disagree with Austin that simply by electing young leaders will not have solved the problem, will we?
Yes, because if you're electing young leaders, probably they do not have the character or the strong character to withstand the challenges, the systemic challenges that are in government. Then they will automatically become what we are seeing today.
Right.
Yeah.
So you agree that probably some of these provisions in the Constitution are a bit problematic by allowing members of the National Assembly to be the ones to determine how they can be removed from Parliament. They came up with a very ambiguous and probably very difficult route to actually send them home. That if at all we get to a possible referendum to review the Constitution, that these are some of the issues we need to resolve.
First and foremost, let me mention that I'm a law student. God willing, I'll be graduating this November. That's just a bit dicta, just in passing. Secondly, looking at this issue, we have to look at it in two ways, in a legal and a political way. The law provides that the members of parliament shall enact and legislate on laws that enable the citizens to recall them. But again, the parliament has failed on its end, where Article 94 of the Constitution provides for their role. And by them, they are mandated to have put in the measures, enacted the legislation that will enable us citizens to recall them when we feel that they have not served our purpose. On the political end, it's paramount to look at it that you cannot plan for your own death, in that you can't say that I want to die by maybe being hanged. So that's on the political end. This leads them to delay, or rather not to do their mandate. In regards to this constitution, to some extent, it's a wonderful document. I love it, but it really doesn't serve its purpose to some extent, where we have the strong articles of the Constitution, that is 1 and 2, where Article 2 provides for the citizens can exercise their democratic rights directly or indirectly, but does not provide for how. Now this is where it comes, how. We have decided we want to exercise it directly, but again we are being barred by some technicality. Again, we're looking at this, we should, from your question, in the Article 256 provides for referendum. That is where we change the Constitution. In as much as we don't need to change the whole documents, where we have the Chapter 4 and the Bill of Rights, it's wonderful and provides for all our rights, but such articles where for recall should be looked at, in that I think where we get to a referendum, this should be tasked to the IBC to come up with measures and ways, since they're the one conducting the election, they should also come with ways of how citizens can be accommodated to recall their members of parliament. Otherwise, if it's left still, the ball is still thrown to the legislative body, we won't go.
Even if it's made up of very young people?
Even, even if it's made up of young people, although I think to some extent it can be a varying issue, but you know,
ni ngumu sana.
Ni ngumu.
Ukishaingia huko unasahau.
Ukishaingia huko unasahau. But to some extent, if the young people really want to change this country, as we all say we want, then maybe that's one of the key issues they should look at when they vie for these seats and the citizens give them the mandate. This is one of the things that they should look up to.
Okay. We have about